So one thing that we are interested in on the spiritual path is knowing the truth, experiencing the truth, and living in truth. And this might sound very far out there and a very high goal, but we can actualize this only through very practical behavior. And I want to share with you some of my ideas around this topic of living always in truth. And what this actually really means on a practical level is telling ourselves and others always the truth. And this is not like a very simple subject, because it is mostly very subtle that we are lying to ourselves and to others. Usually I don't mean those very obvious lies that you invent to avoid certain consequences and that you kind of consciously decide to tell. Those are obviously going to keep you from living in truth, but they are not the majority of the lies that we tell ourselves. The really majority of the lies are those subtle tweaks that we make to our stories. And I think you know what I mean. It's when you are talking to someone about something that you experienced and you tell it over and over again, and it becomes slightly more exciting, or even sometimes if it's a bad story, you make it even worse than it was. And so over time, really, you change your own memories by telling and tweaking the truth of what it actually is that you experienced. And around this topic, I made a few mistakes, so stay with me. I want to make sure I really tell everything that I came up with around this topic over time. And one of the things that we want to do is to be knowing of what truth actually means in its essence. When we force ourselves and change our behavior, and this takes energy, when we make this commitment to always tell the truth, we will already learn by doing that many things about reality, about what is true and what truth actually is. Because truth doesn't care how it makes you feel. It doesn't care if it benefits you or not, your personal self. Truth, you have to want truth for its own sake, for itself. Truth will not give you any benefits, not necessarily, like in and of itself. And we will come to the benefits of telling the truth later. But you will learn that truth is really all-encompassing, all-accepting, and it doesn't distinguish between good and bad. And it can be difficult, because if you always tell yourself and others as closely as you can the truth, it will be humbling, very humbling, because you accept of your higher self all the aspects of your experience. Like, for example, you tell someone about a great vacation that you had, and you only tell how great it was, and maybe you don't tell that most of the time you were very bored or had to wait somewhere in line for hours and hours, and you don't tell them that. You just want them to believe that it was so great because of these very little short moments that were great. But that's kind of tweaking the truth. It's not telling everything. And the truth is actually that reality isn't only good or only bad, however we want to tell the story. So that's in and of itself a great learning experience. It yields insights of what like the largest truth actually is like. You can experience that in the smaller relative truth that you are experiencing. And one thing that I noticed, what you get from this practice, when you make the goal of only telling the truth, it is the experience of letting go of control. That's a big one. Because when we tell lies, we usually do it because we want to control the situation. We want to control the emotion of the other person. We want to control our own emotions. And this little lie that we tell, in whichever way, is just a way for us, for our ego, to exert control. And so by committing to always telling the truth, not only like verbally, but also in your thoughts, to be very honest with what you think about your past experience, about your current experience, about yourself right now, about your future, everything. Being very honest in the spoken word and in your thoughts. It means you have to surrender. Surrender to what is true. Give up control to a certain degree. And that's a very, very great learning experience that can come from this exercise, really, of this spiritual pursuit and this using of truth as a means for spiritual and personal growth. And overall, from practicing this, I have found it will transform your life from the ground up completely, and will change your life in ways that you cannot even imagine right now if you haven't tried, consciously decided to always tell the truth. It will yield insights in your daily life in many situations that are very interesting, to say the least. And this is something you can only discover by doing this practice. And be prepared that there is a readjustment process. Like it doesn't come naturally. You have to remind yourself over and over again that this is what you want, that you are actually someone interested in truth for its own sake, that you value truth over your little egoic needs and goals and wants and the feeling that you need control and security. All of that, you have to put truth higher than that. Otherwise it won't work, and you will lose like the drive for this practice. Make it clear for yourself, do you want truth or not? Because it won't be easy in the beginning. And it's especially not easy if you discover regularly that actually you are telling these small little lies. And I guess we all do to some extent. We have become so accustomed to it that most of the time we don't notice. So this is some unconscious behavior. This is what it means to bring that into awareness. When we become aware of our lies, that is a meditative practice in and of itself. And maybe if you haven't had this insight yet, it might be helpful for you to know when you are lying. That really the only one you are lying to is yourself. Like in the largest sense. There is no one outside of you. Like you are the Godhead. You are playing all of these characters. And really ask yourself, is it worth it to lie to yourself? Like when you are interacting with someone, is it really to the benefit of both of you? if you twist reality, or is it maybe just feeling good for your own ego right now? This is really something that is, if you realize this really deeply, that it's a great motivation to actually live this truth and live only in truth and get to that point. It's a journey, it's a difficult one, but it's a practice that will have also tremendous benefits, I'm very sure. Yeah, and it just feels good. It really is. It's something that's difficult, but you soon will realize the benefits, and you can feel a little bit proud of yourself that you changed into a person who tells the truth at least more often. Yeah, and those are my thoughts around the topic of telling the truth as a spiritual practice for realization of the highest truth. Yeah, thank you for watching, and see you in the next video. Goodbye.